The opinions on this podcast are those of the individuals.
They do not reflect any official view of the United Steelworkers,
USW, Local 105,
or its officers, or sub-board members for officers.
From the banks of the mighty Mississippi, this is Steel Revolution. Steel Revolution.
All right, are we going?
We're going.
Let's do this.
All right.
Sounds good.
All right, everybody, welcome to Steel Revolution #1, our very first show. We're going to take a minute to introduce ourselves and why we decided to do a podcast and why it's important. My name is Roy Hutt. Been in a union or member of the Steelworkers for about 12 years and a really active member for 5.
My name's Mike Nicholas. I've been a member of the Steelworkers for about the same time as Roy, just about 12 years. Began as a steward in 2006 and have been involved ever since.
The thing we wanted to also say is why a podcast. I think first and foremost being motivated to do this by listening to Steel Megaphone in Canada, give those guys props, and from the start right now I want to say I have no problem stealing people's ideas.
Nope.
So, if it's good, we're going to steal it, and I think part of the labor movement, if somebody steals your idea, it's great. You take it as a compliment. But those guys did that, to me, motivated by them, wanted to have a podcast to talk about current events, issues, politics, whatever, even some stuff that maybe don't affect the working class or union members, but come in and talk like you do on the shop floor, cuss, whatever, but be able to talk in terms normal people, regular people understand, and try to get. I guess Mike has a message through that.
I got nothing to say.
Hung me out to dry. Keep on doing some editing later.
Absolutely.
All right, but the way I guess I want to not to steal something from Steel Megaphone, which it's really easy to do because they do a great job. Even their name was hard, so so I stole part of that. But they usually say something at the beginning. So to me, this is like a labor alarm clock or alarm clock for people to wake up, realize what's going on outside their door, outside the plant, something more than, I just need X amount of money so I can buy my next toy. I need to wake up to what's going on outside. So that, to me, that's what this is. It's an alarm clock to get people to wake up.
Sorry.
For some reason, Mike has just not wanted to participate in
Mike
this
participates
process.
when he feels like it. Sorry.
I guess. I guess I'll steer the ship. That's
Let's get started. What are we going to talk about then?
So, let's talk a little bit about the presidential race. I know we got a lot of people out there that are supporters of the GOP, and after the GOP's long labored process of trying to come up with a candidate, it's been about 9 months, right?
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah, almost a year.
Pretty much 9 months. You don't have a nice bouncing baby perfect candidate. You have a steaming pile of shit named Donald Trump as your candidate. So they grunted one out there. That's all.
How do you stand behind that?
That's all I could say. Running on what I see as a platform, he's very opportunistic. Fear, racism, whatever you can think of to try to get ahead in the wrong way and poll numbers. That's what he's doing. Opportunistic. I think he's tapped into some stuff that I think everybody agrees to, like bad trade deals, losing jobs. He's definitely tapped into that. Probably what I'd say the only thing that is halfway decent with what he did do was bring out like the Trans-Pacific Partnership. So it's a main, talking point in this election, and why I don't think nothing's happened so far with it is because it's out there and it's out in the spotlight. But, contrary to what he says, his actions with his own businesses speak different. When you look at your clothing lines are made in China and in Mexico, you're nothing more than a hypocrite.
Well, and with his speeches, all he's doing is he tailors his speech to the audience, unless it's labor or women, and then he doesn't tailor it to anything.
Exactly right. I mean, you want to say we need to build a wall. We need to keep Mexicans out. They're rapists and drug dealers, and meanwhile they make your clothes, and you have no problem when you talk about American jobs and losing them. You have no problem with your companies having 1,100 foreign worker visas since 2000.
But he talks about, let's take all the jobs back that we've given up to China. Yet half of his clothing line. The guy's a hypocrite.
Right. When you look at the politics and last December's omnibus spending bill that was snuck in there was an increase in the H-2B visas, which is what Trump uses, and different companies like him, and you might have seen even Disney wanted to get a bunch of temporary foreign workers to work at Disney in Florida. And I mean, you see that in that bill, they up the visas by 8,000. So you have what started out as 66,000 visas being able to hand out, which to me, 66,000 jobs. Now you tack on another 8,000 that can be lost to foreign workers because they want some cheap labor, and I imagine they're going to hold over their head, well, we're going to do something to your visa or get you deported, and you're going to be out of luck. So, well,
and it's not just losing the jobs to foreign workers. It's, hey, you're going to lose your job, but you also need to train your replacement. So it's the kick in the nuts to add to it.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I did see that at especially at Disney, that it was your American workforce was training your replacement workers. So, I mean, even at, when Trump talks about making America great and he wants to talk about jobs, you take a look at his golf course, the Mar-a-Lago, where 500 he's tried to, that company or that course alone has tried to get 500 visas since 2010. So you're looking at roughly 100 a year, and his comment is he can't get any qualified people in that area to work those jobs. I mean, I call bullshit on that. So, and then when you talk about the the fear there, you got the fear of losing your job, which is part of why people rally behind him. You also talk about the racism, when Trump's quick to call out other people or speak his mind. When it comes to David Duke endorsing him, you say, well, I don't know, I'm going to have to look into that. I mean, I think that would be a quick no.
Yeah, he knows who he is. It should have been a quick nope.
I mean, you got all the middle class and working class, some of these people rallying around him, and you can hear in his speeches alone how American wages are too high, and here pretty soon, or in between takes or topics, you're going to hear Sean plug in a video by the AFL-CIO that we grabbed off of Facebook. Talks about just that.
Well, I heard a funny quote from a speech about 2 weeks ago talking about the national debt and the trillions of dollars we're in debt. And he talked about, why are we in debt? We print the money. He thinks, let's just print more money, let's get rid of our debt. He doesn't understand the crippling effect it'll have on our economy, or the inflation rate that'll happen. He doesn't get it. The guy's an idiot.
Well, that goes to prove his bankruptcies with his companies. It's run so far, and when you don't hit the mic, Sean.
Sorry, dude. Sorry.
You got one job to do.
He's too busy taking selfies anyway.
Somebody's got to be in front of the camera.
No comments.
Anyway, bankruptcies. That's where I was going. So the bankruptcies. That's Sean. You got to quit laughing. So when you got a guy that profits off of bankruptcies with no liability to himself, it's no wonder.
My father gave me a small loan of $1 million. Wages too high. And by the way, I'm really rich. I'll show you that in a second.
All right, back after the break. So altogether, GOP presidential candidates had a shitload of people running, and all of them aborted their campaign. To be honest here, I stole that. So for people that are diehard pro-life and don't want to see anything aborted, they sure did abort their campaigns and didn't finish them to term. So we take a little look back, and it's off the cuff, and I don't think we have a whole lot prepared, but let's run through some names, and if something comes to our mind about a candidate from there, we can say something. So you got, I believe this is going to go in order of, when they dropped out. You had Rick Perry from Texas. Anything?
Wow, I can't even remember him now.
Who?
Rick Perry. He wore glasses. I remember that.
Second time he's ran.
So he was obviously didn't make a big impression on us. This next one, though, I think makes a big impression on us and labor, which is Scott Walker from Wisconsin.
He ran.
The original douchebag.
Looks like Dopey to me from
He does.
the Dwarfs. It's just what I just think of a fucking dope.
Yep.
When you see him
Yep.
running Wisconsin into the fucking ground. So he dropped out, which was good, and that was the Koch brothers boy. And quick burnout.
Yeah, very quick.
It was impressive. Then you got the next one out, Bobby Jindal.
I forgot about him already too.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I got much. Then you got Lindsey Graham, which the one thing I remember about him, he didn't like Trump. I remember that, and they believe he
Did
still
any of them?
like he still talks some shit about Trump. Pataki, name sounds familiar. That's it. That's all I got. All I got on him. Huckabee,
Oh yeah, I forgot he was running as well.
Chuck Norris's friend.
Yeah.
Rand Paul, Rick Santorum.
Another two-time loser.
Yeah, no, it didn't really make a big splash in any way. I don't remember. Then, as I like to say, Krispy Kreme Christie, who did make a big enough impression to join on to Trump's campaign.
He reminds me a lot of somebody. I just can't. 6%?
Yeah, I think he's got 6% body fat. After him, Carly Fiorina, who ran Hewlett Packard, right, into the ground.
She ran several things into the ground.
And
The recent one, HP.
well, no. The recent would be as we
Cruz's
go along.
campaign.
Cruz's campaign, which is a lot like she was like the Sarah Palin of this go around. I think that was the death nail for McCain.
Absolutely.
Oh, let's see. After this one, and this one I do not know. Jim Gilmore was listed on the never.
Yeah, I remember seeing his name several times, but never made a debate. He didn't get that 1%. So
Wasn't he with ABBA?
edit that one out too.
But you're showing your age, and you've lost me. Next, Jeb, or as my kids call, Veg.
Veg.
I don't know. That seems like a good one. It must be because he's as wound up as like a vegetable. But yeah, next one was Bush, which was I guess a big shock, really. I mean, you got what could have been a political dynasty.
He was supposed to be the front runner from the beginning.
After him, Ben Carson, that proves you don't have to be smart to be a brain surgeon, I guess. That's what I remember taking. That's my take from him. After that, Rubio was after that, and then to follow Cruz. And Cruz, which I had a few notes on, was at least a job creator. Can't say that too much about about some of the Republican politics, but Cruz was a job creator, especially in the porn industry, where he used a porn actress in one of his ads. It was one of his campaign ads. And then also, thanks to a woman that looked like him that somebody picked out of the Maury Povich show, was able to take that to the bank and do I believe it was a 21-minute porn with her husband.
But also there at the end, he picked the perfect running mate, Carly Fiorina. She's used to running things into the ground, and she's great at laying people off. So when he had to give up the campaign, she was right there to lay off all his campaign staff. So it was perfect for him.
And when you mention off, it reminds me of when she fell off the stage, and then Cruz or his wife didn't bother to help her up, just kept on shaking hands. And then after that, Kasich, which was probably the one I think I feared the most, because he seemed the most kind of reasonable to probably put up a good fight. But they're all gone.
Smartest one left.
Definitely the greatest, the richest, and the greatest, which takes us right into another topic we want to talk about, which is rich douchebags running for office. But not only did the governor of Illinois, Bruce Rauner, run for governor, but he did win. He did win. He is in there. So it's a look at what happens when somebody that's rich does win in a political election, and then you see what happens. I want to mention that just Wednesday of this week, we'll date this show of what would have been May 18th, a big rally in Springfield, Illinois at the Capitol, all against Rauner. Rauner is wrong rally, where he does look like Mr. Burns, if you catch that picture. Just to go by the numbers here, Rauner, who campaign total that was spent was $63.9 million, and $27.3 million of his own money was spent on that campaign. Just to kind of give the listeners an idea on how much he is worth. So a lot like Mitt Romney, he's a investor that invests money. He was part of, let's see if I can find the name of his equity firm was, I'm going to lose it, GTCR out of, I believe that's out of Chicago, Illinois. So much like Mitt Romney, they'd buy these businesses, bleed them of their cash, take tax incentives from the tax base, which is the middle class, and out of his companies, it says here that 4,000 jobs went abroad. So a lot of similarities here between one of our first topics and him, as you can see what happens when these rich people get nominated.
When they're talking about who's not going to turn them around, what they're saying there is Governor Rauner. Illinois is a blue state, but they've got a Republican governor, Governor Bruce Rauner now. He's been trying to strip union rights in the state, and today, I think, much to a lot of people's surprise, 10,000 people turned out at the state capitol today to rally against that, to rally against him and in favor of union rights. I know we're all obsessed with national level politics right now, and for good reason, but keep an eye on this thing in Illinois. Looking at those images today, it is starting to look Wisconsin-esque there from a few years back. Big-time rumblings against Republican governors in the states. These sometimes end up being very big, important national stories.
Well, he claims not to be a politician. He claims to be a businessman, and that the state needs to be run like a business.
Yeah, all for less, all at the bottom dollar, and
into the ground like several other of his businesses. So that's why we saw 10,000 plus people at the Capitol on Wednesday.
Yeah, you're right. He's got a war on workers, war on unions and benefits. As of now, he wants to limit collective bargaining rights for state employees, cut their pay, prohibit workers from being able to negotiate over wages, I believe, especially if you're a state employee.
Well, he's cutting programs for seniors, cutting programs for students, not passing a budget that's going to hurt all our kids.
Yeah, you're right. He's got a war on workers, war on unions and benefits. As of now, he wants to limit collective bargaining rights for state employees, cut their pay, prohibit workers from being able to negotiate over wages. In long-term care homes that is owned by his companies faced lawsuits stemming from death, alleged mistreatment of residents. Among the problems outlined in court cases, state records, and media reports of disabled residents in bathtubs, living conditions, sexual assaults, failure by employees to stop residents from harming themselves. I mean, it's obviously there's a cut in pay, and we want to do less. Therefore, that less means, you're going to suffer.
He just doesn't give a shit about people unless it's attached to a dollar. At the rally on Wednesday, a young lady spoke about her caregivers. She's going through a caregiver about every 2 weeks because they're down to making $13 an hour. They have to work 2 to 3 jobs just to survive. So as soon as they get a little bit better job where they're making more than $12, $13 an hour, they're leaving. So she gets a new one, and she's got to train them all over again. And it's becoming more and more difficult for people everywhere. I mean, we're coming up on a year. It'll be a year in less than 2 months that the state of Illinois doesn't have a budget. There's a lot of schools by November, December, January timeframe, they're going to run out of money. And cutting programs is not going to be an option. It's going to be, let's close the doors because we have no money to operate. Teachers are going to be without jobs. Kids aren't going to get the educations they need. And he's still going to be sitting there in that mansion counting his money.
Right. I mean, it's become, with politics, governors, even the federal politics, it's a country of less. We want to do less. To me, you talk about, America's the greatest country on earth. Well, you don't get that way by doing less.
It feels to me like him and Walker are in the race to the bottom, and they're both trying to see who can get there first. And I think Rauner has now surpassed Walker at getting to the bottom, and he will.
Right. I mean, you want to look at somebody that especially I'm gonna guess because it's a party line. It's the you don't want to give away anything to anybody. We can't help people. We can't give them a hand up. We can't give them assistance. Yet you have no problem with people that are represented by a union and them not having to pay union dues. You're giving the union service away for free, but yet that's okay, because that's going to weaken the unions. I mean, that's all it is.
So I think that's partly why we saw the people we did see down in Springfield on Wednesday. I mean, I read a story where every union in the state was represented there. Many community groups such as the Chicago Jobs Council, Citizen Action Illinois, Illinois Alliance for Retired Americans, NAACP Illinois State Conference, and several more were down there to make sure that this stuff stops, to make sure we pass a budget, to make sure we're taking care of our students, our seniors, our veterans, our disabled, everybody.
Yeah, and in the research that I was doing just leading up to this, and it says, that you don't need to know any more than probably this. He has no problem with, he wants to roll back the Illinois minimum wage that steps up, and pays $1 more than the federal. So at $8.25, he says that he has no problem with rolling it back to $7.25, and it's a poverty wage. And when you look at the American dream, they say that on average, it's like $64,000 a year, which is what he's complaining about, that the state employees are too high and they have an average wage of $64,000 a year, and it's too high. And, you're on the cusp of the highway workers that are $49,000 a year, and he bitches that other states are 36. Hey, all that money is going to go back into the economy. You can't do less. You got to do more.
Yeah, just ask the ASME union that he's trying to bust right now. He's asking a federal judge to say that they're at a stalemate so he can implement his contract proposal right now. Yet nobody seems to know what his contract proposal is. The unions, the ASME union, their proposal's out there online, but nobody can seem to get a hold of the state's proposal back at them.
Yeah, for somebody that makes as much money as he does, remind everybody, $25,000 per hour. He's saying that people that make 39 is making too much money. And, and if he thinks it's great, to live on minimum wage, even President Obama called him out in his speech. So speaking of a little bit of what you talked about earlier, Mike, and this is coming from just recently, May 20th, out of the Chicago Tribune. Their headline is Governor Rauner's interim grade an epic F, or as we have people in the hall say, epic fucking fail. As is the unemployment rates higher, and largest in the nation unfunded public pension liability, which is a fucking promise. The Teamsters are going through it now, which affects, I know people that have mom and dads out there, myself included, and other board members on our board that, hey, it was part of your wages. It was part of what you bargained for. It should have been a fucking promise, and you should have to deliver on that. There should be no way out of it, but yet they try to get out of it, try to back the union against the wall, especially in the state.
It just amazes me. If I don't pay my bills, what happens to me? Yet this asshole's allowed to continue to not pay his bills and affect thousands, if not millions, of people in the state of Illinois, and everything's fine.
And I mean, you look here. It also says, it goes on to say that you're just one of just 6 states that showed a net loss in private sector jobs last year. So for being a good businessman, he loses jobs. Now, not like the Minnesota governor that raised the wages in Minnesota and has some of the greatest numbers for
the highest job growth, and yeah, he's bringing jobs in. Yet Rauner blames it all on the unions. The unions are causing him to lose businesses, lose people, and it has nothing to do with his policies and the fact that he's a fucking idiot.
So furthermore, that he obviously doesn't know how to run at least the government very well, and just likes to suck money out of companies and until they bleed out, and then he backs out. That states here also in that Chicago Tribune article that he failed last year when he paid superstar budget consultant Donna Ardrum $165,000 for only 8 months' work, in which she did little to help him craft a spending plan for this fiscal year and relied on $2 billion in phantom savings. Failed in February when he put forth a budget for next year with a $3.5 billion hole, which will, I'm going to guess, cost people their job. Because all it is a big race to the bottom, and then we can find some private contractors to take away the good public paying jobs.
And the bad part is there's other Republican governors out there looking at this guy going, wow, I wonder if I can do that. So I'm sure we'll see more in the news shortly.
It don't take a lot to be an epic fail. So, with that being said, I think we've covered it, which should be one, and I hate to steal something, I know that's on other podcasts, but I think we should do something similar, which something like who is the biggest douche out of this show. We should give an award, and at some point on Facebook I do want to get like a douche, and then we can put a picture of a douchebag and put the picture on it, and then we can post it.
I think we can do that this week. Should we vote who's the biggest douche this week? I think it's easy for me. Trump normally gets it, but I think Rauner's are.
I think you have to go with him just because he's actually in and fucking stuff up right now at the present time.
I agree.
Where so far it's just threats by Trump.
So the douche of the week goes to Bruce Rauner.
That's right. And we do need to get some sort of positive. There has to be some sort of positive to lift people up. So it's kind of twofold, though. It is kind of not the news that people wanted, but Rage Against the Machine is not getting back together. But it's said that there is going to be a new group, supergroup called the Prophets of Rage, which you have 3 members of Rage Against the Machine, Tom Morello, and the other 2, I don't know their names, but the bassist and the guitarist, or the guitarist, bassist, and drummer. And then Chuck D from Public Enemy and the guy from Cypress Hill.
And that full announcement will come out May 31st, so we'll see.
I mean, that's what the world needs. Needs some more Rage Against the Machine or music like it. So, thanks for listening to Steel Revolution number 1.
Number 1. Thanks.
This has been Steel Revolution. Questions or comments, email us. steelrevolution105@gmail.com. Steel Revolution is a production of Steelworkers 105, Bettendorf, Iowa. Steel Revolution.